Since the dawn of time, or at least the dawn of skateboarding, people have been trying to find new ways to alter skateboards. A couple of these inventions have been genuinely helpful and had a net benefit on skateboarding as a whole. The thing is, this definitely isn't always the case. In this video, we're going to go over some of the worst / weirdest / most creative skateboarding inventions. Go ahead and leave a comment if any good ones were missed. Be sure to leave a like on the video, and with that said, let's get right into it. So to start off with, we have folding skateboards. Now, at first, this seems like a great idea, especially if you're someone who doesn't skate very much. Skateboards aren't always as compact as some people would like, and having a board that folds in half helps solve that problem. The thing is, compared to a regular board, a folding skateboard isn't nearly as functional. For starters, you're not going to be able to do the normal tricks that skaters do on a board, especially tricks that require you to slide on the middle section. Not only that, but the extra components required to make a board fold in half usually adds a lot of weight, which also makes it harder to use. I'm sure some people might be okay with this if they only use boards for transportation, and I get that. Not everyone wants to learn how to do tricks. But if that's the case, why not just get a cruiser board that isn't so long? Cruiser boards are going to be lighter, cheaper, stronger, and easier to use than pretty much any folding skateboard out there. I'm sure there are some decent folding skateboards you can find, but considering their price and functionality, it just seems a bit unnecessary. Number 2 is the training wheel. That's right, you probably thought that training wheels were only for bikes, unicycles, and Harleys, but for some reason, they also make them for skateboards. Even though most skateboards already have 4 wheels, you can still get a training wheel for the nose or tail. This is a prime example of skateboarding inventions solving a non-issue. The idea behind it is that it helps you practice manuals without sticking and falling. But if anything, it just makes it more likely that you're going to fall as soon as you stop using them. See, when it comes to manuals, you need the flexibility to raise or lower the board as you go. If you get used to pressing your weight down on a training wheel, as soon as you don't have it, you're going to lean too far and instantly scrape. Now, there's a good chance you'll also do that if you practice without a training wheel, but the point is, you won't be making a habit out of it. Using a training wheel for manuals basically makes you dependent on a crutch, which makes it harder to learn the actual trick. Also, let's not forget that, like a lot of these inventions, it literally makes it impossible for you to use your board the way it's designed to be used. Sticking an extra wheel on your nose or tail essentially makes that side of your board useless, so it's a pretty one-dimensional product. Number 3 is the electric off-road skateboard. Electric skateboards have been around for a while, and off-road boards have been around even longer, so it was only a matter of time before someone combined the two. For years, the major downside to off-road boards was that you could only go downhill. If you wanted to ride on a flat or even slightly inclined surface, it took a lot of effort to get speed. Well, an electric off-road board basically solves that problem. There's a decent amount of companies that make them, so there's a few different styles. Some of them are more so meant for cruising, and some of them strap to your feet so you can take them off some sweet jumps. Compared to a lot of skateboarding inventions, this one actually isn't that bad. Honestly, I'd even say they look pretty fun. They are super expensive, and if you fall on the dirt while your feet are strapped in, it's definitely not going to be a good time, but other than that, these seem kind of cool. Number 4 on the list is non-abrasive grip tape. Non-abrasive grip tape was a bit of a fad a few years ago, and even though it's not as popular anymore, you still see it from time to time. Basically, the idea behind non-abrasive grip tape is that it doesn't wear down your shoes as fast, so it can save you money in the long run. Now, to be completely transparent, I've never used non-abrasive grip, so I can't say whether or not it's really worth it, but I do see some problems with it. 1, it costs over $10 per sheet, not including shipping, which is double the price of normal grip tape. 2, if you break your board, you're going to have to special order another sheet because, let's be honest, most shops don't carry it. And 3, I'm not very confident that it works that well. Sure, if you watch videos of people using it, they do seem to like it. But if it actually works that well, why don't you see more people using it? If you think about it, non-abrasive grip tape has been around for years, and if it's just as good, it probably would have caught on by now. Again, I don't want to hate on it too much because I haven't tried it myself, but it does seem a little suspicious. For number 5, we have spark plates. Spark plates are little skid plates that you put on the tail of your board that make sparks when it touches the concrete. Surprisingly, these have actually been around for decades, and they might even be the oldest item on the list. Unlike other items that are supposed to improve your board or give you some sort of edge, these are pretty straightforward. Literally, the only reason why you buy them is because they look cool. They aren't marketed as some wonder product that takes your skating to the next level. They're simply just something fun to mess with. Now, the drawback is they normally cost around $20, so for what you get, they are a little pricey. But to be fair, they can be fun to use, they don't try to solve some non-issue, and there's no denying that they do what they advertise. Next up, we have soap shoes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Soap shoes don't have anything to do with skateboarding. And to be fair, you're kind of right. But honestly, these things are pretty sick, so they deserve a mention. For those who don't know, soap shoes are essentially just normal shoes with a grind plate on the bottom that allow you to grind rails and ledges. They were only popular for a few years in the late 90s and early 2000s, but surprisingly, you can still find some today. A lot of hardcore skaters might think these are stupid since they're basically a dumbed down version of inline skates, but honestly, if I saw someone shredding some soap shoes at the skate park, I'd have nothing but respect. They aren't directly skateboarding related, but they are somewhat skateboarding adjacent, and considering how weird they are, they definitely fit in on the list. So moving on, we have skateboard locks. Now, there's a variety of companies that make skateboard locks, so I'm not going to single one out. I will say though that regardless of the company, these are pretty much a guaranteed waste of money. Just like with so many other skate products, skateboard locks solve a problem that doesn't exist. Skateboards are very light and maneuverable, so it's extremely rare that you're ever in a situation where you can't carry it with you. When it comes to something like a bike, the reason you lock it up is because you can't just bring your bike into a store. Well, technically you can, but generally speaking, it's heavily frowned upon. Carrying a skateboard might get you some looks, but for the most part, it doesn't get in the way, and people won't care if you have it as long as you aren't riding it around. Maybe there's some crazy, super specific scenario where it makes sense to have a skateboard lock, but chances are you could go your entire life skating and never need one. So next up, we have hoverboards. Over the years, there's been many attempts at making a functional hoverboard, and people have gotten really creative. Hoverboards range from barely working at all to actually being somewhat usable. The thing is, none of them really work how people wish they would. When people think of a hoverboard, they think of a Marty McFly Back to the Future hoverboard that flies through the air. Instead, the things that get labeled as a hoverboard are usually pretty far from expectations. Some hoverboards do seem decent, and the attempts have definitely gotten better with time. But as of now, most of these are still extremely overpriced, and a lot of them barely even work. Up next on the list, we have soft trucks. Soft trucks are designed as a beginner accessory that makes it easier to practice skate tricks. They give you the clearance of normal skateboard trucks, but since they don't have wheels, it makes it easier for beginners. Now, the main issue with these is that just like with skate trainers, they don't really help that much, and you could easily do the same thing for free. Generally speaking, if you can't learn a trick rolling, you aren't comfortable enough on a skateboard to be learning tricks in the first place.
I'm okay, baby.
Instead, you're better off getting comfortable riding around. Once you can casually cruise on a board, learning tricks is a lot easier. Also, if you really want to learn tricks when you're still starting out, you can simply put your wheels in a crack or put old tennis balls over your wheels, and it basically does the same thing. Now, even though soft trucks are a waste when it comes to skating, there is a type of soft truck that's designed for trampolines, which does seem to be a little more functional. I'm far from a professional trampoline boarder, so I can't speak on this myself, but they at least seem better than the soft trucks that are meant for skating. I'm sure the people who make these kinds of products have good intentions, but some of them are pretty odd, and a lot of them don't really work that well. Occasionally, a new product will come out that's kind of cool, but there's definitely a lot of weird ones that get made along the way. If you feel like any good ones were left out, go ahead and share it in the comments. Be sure to leave a like on the video, and with that said, thanks for watching.